What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So I like to point out the different sales that go live throughout a month, like we just had the eShop sale we talked about, but we do have a big year-end sale to go over for all the different platforms, and these include physical copies. We'll talk about that one. Also, we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy VI, the Pixel Remaster that's happening. It got delayed, but it looks like some new information is starting to appear online, pointing towards maybe a bit of a graphical change, something a bit different than we were expecting. And we're also going to talk about the worst games of 2021, as we now have that list from Metacritic. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all of the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with the Game Awards. Now, there's a lot of conversation around what people thought about the Game Awards, specifically, though, the reveals. I kind of feel like the Game of the Year award for It Takes Two. Most people are okay with that. It just came down to, were there games there that they showed that you were really excited about that we probably won't see for several years. But we did get viewership numbers revealed. We can see this over on Twitter from the Game Awards saying, "Thank you for watching and supporting the Game Awards. This year's show delivered a record 85 million live streams across more than 30 platforms, as well as record social and voting engagement." So it's pretty obvious. The show is massive when it comes to viewership, having nearly 100 million viewers, which I think is what they're really pushing towards. And I think if they had more there in terms of games that were vying potentially for Game of the Year, I mean, 2022, we could have some big hitters from all three major platform holders, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, going at it for Game of the Year in 2022. That could drive up more and more people to watch. And of course, if we have big announcements, yeah, that could also drive them up. I think they're in a good spot here, though, as they are continuing to trend upwards, now with 85 million live streams that took place with this last one. So we'll see if they can maybe hit that 100 million mark next year. Also, we did have a new Cruisin Blast game that came out on the Switch this year, but there was one major thing missing that I criticized quite a bit, and that was the fact that it had no online multiplayer. Well, there was an AMA that took place on Reddit with developers, and they actually mentioned that. This is what they had to say. "Online multiplayer is our next goal for Cruisin on Switch. When we get our online multiplayer going, we'll definitely look at bringing on some more content." And this had been mentioned before, that they were going to see how the reception was around Cruisin Blast when it released on the Switch. And it doesn't exactly have like the best overall reviews, but the game is just flat out fun. I think a lot of it came down to the lack of content and the lack of any real online multiplayer at all. That's a game that would be a lot of fun to have tournaments online, or really just be able to play with your friends. So it's cool to hear that they are working on that, because the core concept, the game itself, Cruisin, is a ton of fun to play. Oh, and we also have a brand new event that is live for Halo Infinite's multiplayer. Remember, that is free to play, so you can just download it and start playing now. And it looks like this one is holiday themed. They put this out over on their Halo Waypoint website, where they say the winter contingency celebrations begin December 21st and offer 10 unique holiday-themed rewards that will roll out one per day until December 30th. All you have to do is jump into Halo Infinite's free-to-play multiplayer and complete a match of arena or big team battle. Now, they do show off some of the different coatings and things you can unlock, and yes, they're all like holiday themed. They have like a peppermint coating, for example. Now, this is going to run until the first week of January. They said January 4th, and you will have the ability to unlock one reward each day, or if you're behind, you can essentially catch up. They say, think of it as a Halo Advent calendar, and obviously that plays the idea of them trying to get people to sign in every day if they can. It's a service-based game, and that is their end goal, is to continue their monthly active users. But I like the idea of it being just kind of a spur-of-the-moment holiday event. You sign in, you earn some extra rewards, why not? And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the big year-end sale that is now live on GameFly. And we've talked about GameFly a couple of times. I was thinking maybe ordering a bunch of the games from one of these sales, and when it comes in, we take a look at the condition of the games when they arrive, because I've heard a lot of people say when they order games from GameFly, it comes perfectly fine. I've ordered like 2 times from them with their used games, and it came complete. No scratches or anything on the disc or the case. So it seems like it's a good place to pick up physical games at a pretty good discount. Let's take a look at the page now, and of course is linked below if you want to scroll through and check them out for yourselves. Certainly can save quite a bit of money on some physical games for all the different platforms. They also point out Blu-rays, DVDs, all of that. So if you're looking to pick up movies, you can do that here too. But we can see at the top they have several headlining games, which includes Far Cry 6 on the PS4 at $35, Biomutant at $13, even Battlefield 2042 already being marked down there to $45, or Resident Evil Village at $18. If we scroll down here to the PS5 section, Deathloop is $30. Again, these are all physical copies, so it's pretty good there to already see that marked down. You do have Battlefield 2042 there on the PS5 at $50. Aliens Fireteam Elite down to $18. Death Stranding Director's Cut at $30. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl at $30. And if we take a look at the Switch, they have Metroid Dread at $40, and many of these have free shipping. I think you have to get to a certain price threshold. I almost feel like it's $20 or more, considering even some of the $20 ones like Sonic Colors Ultimate has free shipping attached. New Pokemon Snap at $40. And then we do have Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time at $25. We can also see on the Xbox side, we have Xbox One and Series X, but we know with smart delivery, they're very, very similar there for the most part. But like Scarlet Nexus is $17. Like, that's pretty good. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which flew under the radar completely over the last several months, $30. And then you also have Far Cry 6 there at $35 as well, with Outriders at $10. I also want to point out two other games. We have Immortals Phoenix Rising at $15, and then Tales of Arise, which is a very, very good JRPG at $30. Now, this year-end sale will be running until the 3rd of January, so maybe you get a couple of new systems or something over the holidays. Good chance to pick up some physical games to start building up that collection. But take a look here at the sale, and of course, let people know down in the comments some recommendations that you spot. Next up, let's talk about the worst games of 2021. I know the big thing is all about Game of the Year, who's gonna win it, but it's also the other side. Which game was the worst when it comes to Metacritic, as is rated by, of course, many different outlets? They put the scores together and we get generally an average that gives us an idea as to how good the game is. Well, we can see this here. This was compiled, like I said, by Metacritic, and then several websites like Nintendo Life and others just make it a lot easier to see all in one shot. Apparently, number 10 is Necromunda. That's Hired Gun. That was a 49 on Metacritic. Then we have Demon Skin at 48. Arkham Horror, that's 48. I Saw Black Clouds at 48. GTA the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition at 47. Who would have thought when we were hearing rumors about that, we'd fast forward to the end of the year and it was, towards the bottom of Metacritic for the entire year on the Switch at 47. Then we have Of Bird in Cage, Taxi Chaos. That one's at 42. Werewolf the Apocalypse. That one's actually believable, because I remember that came out and no one really talked about it, and a few that did said it was pretty bad at 42. Balan Wonderworld, there we go, at 36. And the worst game of 2021 is eFootball 2022. That's a 25 on PC, which is, I think that's really bad, because that's a free-to-play game, so you figure they're giving it away and it still gets like a 25. Certainly, eFootball did not go the way that Konami was hoping, after coming from such a storied franchise with Winning 11 and moving it away from Fox Engine into Unreal, and it's, well, there you go. They are the winners. I guess is that the winner of the worst game of 2021. We'll see. It's going to be something they'll build on as they go along, so who knows, maybe they can eventually dig their way out of this hole with eFootball 2022. But yeah, there's also Balan Wonderworld. Certainly not the way Square or Yuji Naka wanted that one to go, but we'll hold off our final judgment for that game after we see how it plays out, after Metroid Dread sells, of course, 3 million copies in its first year. Next up, let's talk about Final Fantasy VI, that Pixel Remaster. This was an announcement at E3 that people got really excited for and then immediately really disappointed for, because it looked like it was just going to go to all platforms, being this really cool remastering of some of the classic Final Fantasies, and then it was just on cell phones and PC. But it sounds like it will be making the move to consoles at some point. However, it looks like Final Fantasy VI is going to be a little longer to have that one released. We can see this over on Twitter released by the Final Fantasy account, saying Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster launches in February 2022. In order to bring you the best experience possible, we're allowing the necessary time to apply final polish while finishing development of the game. We'll be adding new items for those that pre-purchase the game individually or have purchased the Pixel Remaster bundle on Steam. We're looking forward to sharing the final title in our Pixel Remaster series with you all early next year, and we hope you're looking forward to it. Now, things got a bit interesting pretty recently because there were scans from a Famitsu magazine, and it appears to show a scene from Final Fantasy VI. People were even comparing it to like how it was on the Super Famicom, for example, where it looks like it's done in that HD 2D art style. Think of like Octopath Traveler or how we had that Dragon Quest III reveal. I mean, it looks really good. Sure, it's just a still that they have here, but like if this is something they have as part of Final Fantasy VI Remaster where occasionally they'll go to a new scene and it's this HD 2D, yeah, delay the game if that's the plan and you're trying to add final polish to it. I like that idea quite a bit. Final Fantasy VI, by many people, is their favorite Final Fantasy. Like it's the best Final Fantasy. And I will say some of the plot twists and turns they have in there are very, very compelling. And I think I would like to see a full-on remake of Final Fantasy VI. They're not going to pour as much money into it as they did with Final Fantasy VII Remake because Final Fantasy VII is just extremely popular all the way around. But having a pixel remaster at least lean into HD 2D, that's what I expect HD 2D to be used for, is when they're not willing to go up to that Final Fantasy VII Remake budget, but they still want to put a new twist on a retro game like Final Fantasy VI. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more about this one. How often is HD 2D used? Is it certain scenes? Maybe in battle? A lot of questions here, but I guess we'll be finding out more in the beginning of 2022. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about some file sizes that have been revealed for some upcoming games on the PlayStation, that being Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring. And, well, you're going to want to either get those M2 drives ready or start clearing up some space for nearly 100 gigabytes. Well, let's take a look at this tweet here. This was posted up by PlayStation Game Size, saying Horizon Forbidden West download size 96.35 gigabytes. That's without the day one patch. Now, they do specify here that some games on the database have bigger size than on consoles, so like 10 to 20 gigabytes, but it does appear that Horizon Forbidden West is going to be at least 70 gigabytes in size. They also have the preload day being February 11th, and I mean, I think we're all looking at Horizon Forbidden West and just feel like that's going to be a large game just based on what they've been showing us. The visuals, yes, but the world that they're trying to build out here. It also appears that that's going to be Game Informer's big cover story here coming up, so keep an eye out for that one. They did reveal the cover. And the other game we have is Elden Ring. That's coming in, as they show here on the PS5, at 44.472 gigabytes. That's without the day one patch. Preload February 23rd. I think that makes it one of the larger or the largest From Software game so far. Now, there was a lot of talk around the Kraken compression technology that Sony has with the PS5, but still, you're gonna see games that are nearly 100 gigabytes, I'm sure, as we go through this generation. It's one of the reasons that Sony did upgrade the Blu-ray disc they're using to have capacity of 100 gigabytes, because that's just the way it's going to be. We're going to see fidelity all the way around get pushed with visuals, of course, and yes, the world itself being built out. So Horizon looks super ambitious, looks really, really good, and I'm excited to get my hands on it, but like, yeah, I understand people are like, oh, we're downloading over 90 gigabytes of data. Even if you get it on a disc, you're going to sit there and install it for quite a while, and then there's a day one patch on top of that, which at times we've seen 10, 12 gigabytes easy. So we'll see what the final file size is for something like Horizon. Elden Ring, that's basically expected. Most people understand a game's probably 40, 50, 60 gigabytes at this time. It just caught me off guard a bit, I will admit, for Horizon Forbidden West being nearly 100 gigabytes without the day one patch. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a little poll I posted up yesterday where I asked, which is your favorite PS1 Final Fantasy game? Yeah, I was trying to start all kinds of arguments yesterday. Final Fantasy VII at 58%, completely expected that one. No surprise with the popularity around that game. I mean, even recently with Remake releasing. But then take a look at this. 9 was at 18%, and Final Fantasy Tactics beat out Final Fantasy VIII. I'm a little surprised on that one because typically the numbered Final Fantasy games are the most popular ones. So hey, shout out to Final Fantasy Tactics. I still enjoy playing Final Fantasy Tactics to this day, and that's one to me that could use a remaster. I know we're getting Project Triangle Strategy, but I don't know, something about that, the original Final Fantasy Tactics, having that brought up in HD 2D, or maybe they go a different route with the art style, or just remaster it and put it on all platforms now. I think it's a classic that not enough people have played. It just needs more exposure to current gen systems. Give it a chance. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Mega saying, about the 64 save data. Funnily enough, that happened to me on my hacked Switch with RetroArch before the online expansion was even announced. The emulator crashed because I was playing with some settings and I lost a good chunk of progress on Paper Mario. However, after that, I went into the save settings and turns out RetroArch has an option to constantly save the actual save data to memory. I turned that on, and now even if the emulator crashes, as long as I saved in-game, my data is preserved. Maybe that's something Nintendo could work on with their N64 Super Nintendo or Nintendo, where it makes like a suspend point automatic, like an autosave, whenever you just save the game completely in menu. I say that because if it autosaves every couple minutes or something, you could just get stuck in like a glitch or something to where you have to reset the game completely. That still happened quite a bit, actually, back in the day with some of these games. So maybe a way for it to auto back up different things, not necessarily to the cloud, but like to its own suspend point, because there are a lot of people who clearly were not using suspend points because, well, they started to after their save file was erased based on that Reddit thread. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike, leave comments down below about everything we talked about here. Today was the worst games of 2021. Let me know which game you think was the worst overall for the year. And then also, what about that big year-end sale from GameFly? Are you picking any of those games up? And then Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster. Do you like the idea of some parts of it just being in that HD 2D art style? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.